What there was no framework for was that Gentiles, that people who are not from the line of David, people who were not Jewish, could experience this same spirit. What is most controversial in moving from the Jewish faith into the New Testament is that through Jesus, Yahweh was given to the nations. That this Yahweh that they had dwelt with and wrestled with and given generations to try to understand how this was going to work out in their actual lives is now being given away to the nations. That's why Jesus' last words to his disciples in the book of Matthew was to go and make disciples, go and do what I've done for you for others. He says in Jerusalem, where you are, well, that makes sense, right? If we're doing this sect of Judaism thing. To Judea, well, that's just like this kind of suburb of Jerusalem, right? There's lots of Jews out there. That makes sense. To Samaria. Now, this one would have been a little controversial because the Samaritans were half Jews. These were people that somewhere in their line, someone mated with someone who was not Jewish. And so the descendants were Samaritans. They were part Jewish and part something else, which I know can sound really maybe harsh. Like, why would they hate them so much? But don't forget that these people had no land. These people had no king. It was really, really important to them. They protect their origin stories and their origin story connected with Yahweh. And so when Jesus comes along and says Jerusalem and Judea and then Samaria, they would have been like, okay, like, all right, Jesus, like you taught us a lot about forgiveness, a lot about reconciliation. We have an imagination for that. But then he says, you're going to also go make disciples even to the ends of the earth and the rest of the world. They had zero imagination for that. And so the New Testament is actually like a lot of debates. There's things happening in Philippi and in Ephesus and even in Rome, where the Spirit of God is moving in people's lives in ways that are beyond the frame in which any Jewish person had ever had before. It was beyond even how they understood the teachings of Jesus at that time. But the Spirit was moving in a way that was just blowing their imaginations and their expectations out of proportion. And friends, this is really important. This is really important because the reason Christianity survived is twofold. One is that people who didn't need this lost their lives for it. That the earliest followers of Jesus, these apostles who spent time with Jesus, spreading the message of Jesus, begin to lose their lives, like literally are killed because they keep associating with this Jesus and the way of Jesus. And what's incredible about church history is that every time an empire tried to martyr a follower of Jesus, the story became more famous and more people were drawn in and more people found themselves building their lives around Jesus. But actually, that's not enough because there have been people who've been martyred for all kinds of faiths and all kinds of reasons. Empires have no problem eliminating people who are a threat to the empire. This happens in lots of ways still today. The second reason why Christianity survived is that the activity of the Spirit of God moved beyond the frames of human understanding. And this is still true today. And this is so important for us because I think us in this kind of Western Enlightenment mind, we want to try and get this thing in our heads. And even at times in recent history, an idea around something like evangelism was to go out and convince people with their heads that this is the right way and that is the wrong way. Can I say, if that was the way, the church wouldn't have made it. What is compelling about Christianity now for thousands of years is that the Spirit of God is at work in the actual bodies of people and in the body of the people. And this is what draws people and has kept Christianity for all these years. As people align their minds with the way of Jesus and build their practice around the way of Jesus, part one, and then invite the Spirit of God to change their life and change their lives, we can begin to bear witness to something that is different than anything else that is taking place in the world. And that is how Christianity continues to move and grow. That is how Christianity moves beyond the language of its original writings. That is how Christianity can move without a Mecca. You know, Christianity is the only major religion in the world that does not have a Mecca, where that source of that religion is more profound on a location than it is where you are. This is what Jerusalem wanted to hang on to the Mecca. Right? The New Testament is them letting go of that idea that this Spirit is moving around the globe that does not require a Mecca. The temple has fallen and the Spirit of God is now spreading across the world, and we can see it and bear witness to it. I cannot today convince you with your heads to follow Jesus in the way of Jesus. It requires you to open your life up to the Spirit of God to change you from the inside out, and watch how that makes a difference in your actual life. The church depends on it. The future of Christianity depends on it. The entire history of this way of Jesus people, these Jesus-y people, depends on people dedicating their lives to the story of Jesus and being transformed by the Spirit of God. So, friends, this is why I want to take just a couple minutes and give you a little commercial for Lent. Every year, we will take a specific time in our calendar, starting with Ash Wednesday, that starts this week. And we will walk the steps of Jesus. We'll follow the way of Jesus, asking what might this mean in our actual lives today? What does it look like for us to tangibly follow this person of Jesus in the way Jesus invited us to follow him? But that's actually, Easter is not when it ends, right? There's one more after that. Then after Easter, we begin to move towards Pentecost, when the Spirit of God fell on the church, and the church began to expand, not just in Jerusalem, oh, that makes sense. Not just in Judea, oh, that makes sense. Not just in Samaria, which will require forgiving people and reconciling with people and unraveling some of these deeply held beliefs that we have. But even to the ends of the earth, where we cannot control how this God, how this Yahweh is moving, we can just learn from it and submit to it and move with it. So Wednesday begins Ash Wednesday. Then if you are a Christian, like you're like, I'm a Jesus follower, this season is so important for us. May we never lose sight of what it means to tangibly follow the way of Jesus, and be reminded of the ways the Spirit of God can move in our lives that makes an actual difference in the world. But if you're not, you're like, I've been on maybe the back row or whatever of this church for a while. I'm considering all of this. What's also beautiful about this Lenten season, it's a chance for you to try it out. It's a chance for you to walk with Jesus for a while and see if I don't know, maybe I'm into this. Maybe you're not. But I'll tell you, as you begin to walk with Jesus, you might just move to a point where the next phase is, why don't you try opening your life up to the Spirit of God? And just see if the Spirit of God can change your life like it's changed mine, like it's changed a lot of people in this room, like it's changing lives all around the globe and has been for thousands of years.